Hi everyone, Chad Shoop here, and welcome to my latest edition of Quick Takes. In these videos, we got about 5 or 6 stocks that we run through just to figure out whether or not we expect them to head higher, which would be on my bank it list, or they're stocks that are set to head lower, which would be on my tank it list. So today we're going to jump right into the charts and figure out where these stocks are and how to trade them from here. But before we get started, take a moment, scroll below, click subscribe so that way you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos or any other market insights that I like to share with you all. And just leave me a comment, let me know what stocks you want me to take a look at, and I'll be sure to feature them in the upcoming video. So for today, to do that, we're going to take a look at this relative rotation graph. Now, I consider this my profit radar. I've wrote about it quite a bit. We use it in our monthly outlook. I use it in other strategies, and I'm also working on a big release here in the next week or so of a brand new strategy that's using this at an even more profitable level and more extreme returns, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. But first, let's just take a look at this relative rotation graph, and let me walk you through how it works here. So these are all the stocks in the S&P 500. The center of the chart is the S&P 500 itself. So we're looking at the rotation for all the stocks within the S&P 500 and how they rotate around it. So this is when you looked at the price charts, and I'll show you examples today, but when I shade the bars on the price charts based on these color quadrants, those are based on this chart, the relative rotation graph going around the S&P 500. So what we see is as we start to slide this up here on the top, we're going to slide this across because right now it's on January 4th of 2021. So it's a one-day chart, so we're going to scroll this all the way up to today. And I just want you to see the rotations that take place and how the clockwise rotation through here just continues to play out. And they don't always go from leading to weakening to lagging to improving back to leading, but you see a lot of times that is the case. I mean, you can see the mRNA through there, Moderna, Twitter. You see that they're going right through these rotations. They were in leading, then they fell all the way to lagging. Now they went back to improving. It's just this natural rotation that takes place in the markets, and this relative rotation graph allows us to line them up, run strategy, run analysis, and find ways to profit from it. And you see some of them start getting jagged and they're not all perfect, but most of the time, this is the rotation that we see. And we can count on that rotation to find profitable trades, profitable ideas. And that's what we're going to be talking about today for our stocks that are going to be on my bank it or tank it list. Now, we're getting up to where we are today. This is the current price now for the relative rotation graph and where everything's rotating. So you see way out here in the leading quadrant. And this is something you want to look at. The further away from the center we are, the more movement we're seeing. I mean, Tesla, Enphase Energy, Nvidia, these are stocks that are really on the move. They've been breaking out to the upside, but now you want to actually look for the pullbacks. Now, I mean, it doesn't mean that they're coming yet, because what you want to wait for is the turn lower. And we're going to zoom in here and pick out a few stocks for us today. But once they turn lower, that's when you really want to look at the bearish activity on these trades. Same down here in the lagging quadrant on this side, the red quadrant lagging. When you just think about this intuitively, it means that it's bearish, that the stocks are lagging the market, and you probably don't want to touch them. But the reality is that we see this rotation play out, so then we know once they hit way down here into this lagging quadrant, more than likely they're going to see a bounce. They're going to come back, and it doesn't mean that they're phenomenal stocks. All we're talking about is over the next few days, over the next few weeks, these are stocks that are expected to bounce higher. So same thing with the leading stocks. When they go make that rotation, it's just a matter of days or weeks that we're looking at these things to move. So Tesla, if you were to put a bearish trade on, it doesn't mean that you're bearish on Tesla. That's not a stock that makes much money if you're bearish on it. It just means that you're looking for a short-term pullback. And you know, when you're a trader, that's all you're counting on. A few days, a few weeks, that's it. Doesn't matter if Tesla is going to continue to run higher. This is the only opportunities that you're looking for. So today, we're going to zoom in and we're going to break this down. But before I give you the stocks, I mentioned that we're about to release an upcoming strategy called Fast Lane Profits, and it is truly Fast Lane Profits. When you look at these charts, how we're looking at where things are on the relative rotation graph, where things are on this profit radar, as I like to call it, and we see the further away from the center, the bigger movements. And what I've done is I've been able to tweak this to make it extremely sensitive, so that way we can look at indexes in the market and figure out which index is expected to move the fastest. Over again, just 5 to 10 days max. So very short term in nature, and we're looking for these indexes that are set to enter the fast lane, make big moves in a short period of time, and then we'll break down those indexes just like this for the S&P 500, but we'll do it For the other 5 major indexes, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the S&P 400, the QQQs, and the IWM Russell 2000 Index, along with the S&P 500, and we break that down to figure out which stocks within those indexes are expected to move faster as well. So we're trying to find the fastest index, and then within that index, we're trying to find the fastest stock. So a lot of times with these short-term moves that we're looking for, this is the kind of the area that we're looking for. Stocks that are already making this move higher and going to deliver the fastest gain in just a matter of days. So we're not talking weeks here. We're literally talking the next day or two. And for that, we want to see that this rotation is already played out. For today, we don't have to worry about the next day or two, because with YouTube, by the time this video is edited, cut, you'll see it. It'll be a couple days later. So we're not worried about something that timely. What I want to look at is here over the next month, really, over the next 2 to 4 weeks, where you want to look at trades to be placed. And I have about 6 stocks for you that I wanted to take a look at today. So let's start with our bullish trades. Down here, once we zoom in, you can see that all these little squiggly lines start to clear up a little bit, and just, once you stare at this chart enough, you kind of know what you're looking for. The swoosh, the turn higher here from this lagging quadrant. So we see it in Intel. It just had this sharp turn higher and turned up. So now it's in the lagging quadrant, headed to the upside. So this is a stock that I would like it to be on my bank list, but what I always like to do is I'll break it down. I want to look at the price charts as well and see what's going on here. So we see that Intel, it was lagging. It went through this pretty strong pullback, but this is from since the beginning of 2021. So it started to head higher, and now we see it go through all the rotations all the way down. That's the shaded colors that we have on this chart here. But the big drop recently happened. We hit a support, and we're trying to bounce out of that. So Intel, knowing that it's still in the lagging quadrant, we're expecting it to bounce higher out of this. So it's going to be on my bank list, and we're looking for this support to hold. So going forward, you want to keep an eye on this long-term support that's trending here just below where price is. And that's key, because it means that to the downside, we don't have much to risk, because once we get down near this, to start taking some cash off the table. And if it breaks below that, then you want to get away from the stock. But if it holds here and it continues to head higher, then this is a great opportunity to be bullish on a stock. So for Intel, this is going to be on our bank it list for today. Now, another bank it stock that we wanted to point out here is Alaska Airlines. So you can see this one also. It's hard to keep up with the line once you get down here, but it starts about right here, and then it's just making this nice rotation. And you see other airlines kind of doing the same thing. This is Southwest starting to turn higher, Delta starting to make that turn. But we'll take Alaska Airlines. It's the furthest to the left, which means it's expected to see the biggest move. The further we are from the center, the more movement we're seeing in the stock. So for Alaska Airlines, we also want to take a look at the price charts. And this is because, especially once we get to the bearish trades, you still want to take a highly probable setup instead of jumping into a weak stock that's really down here beating up and it just continues to fall. We want to find stocks that are trending higher, that are making, in this case, a descending triangle pattern. So we're expecting it to it's still consolidating, and then maybe a breakout here in the coming weeks. You see that's lagging, but we just got to push higher here to close out last week. This was Friday. So we're expecting this to hold up somewhat and then break out to the upside of here. But once again, we have a close support here, so it's only going to fall 10% or so at the most before it's going to test that support. So you kind of have a tight stop on this trade, at least on the downside over the next month or so, to look for this to break out to the upside. So Alaska Air, it's going to be on our bank it list for today. Now our last stock that we want to look at, we see that we have Sysco, and it's kind of making this more roundabout turn here. But these are a lot of opportunities here to have on your radar. But once you get into them, you start breaking down the stocks and the charts, that's how you can start to differentiate a little bit from some of these other airlines, some of these other competitors that are making this similar motion, but which ones have a nice setup. So this is a wedge pattern here. Stock's been headed higher. Now it's pulled back quite a bit, kind of trending up, consolidating, but it's been in the lagging quadrant. Again, made a big move up on Friday. We're looking for it to break out to the upside of this wedge pattern and be on our bank it list for today. Now, that's our 3 bank it stocks for today. Again, we got Sysco, we had Alaska Airlines, and we had Intel. And you can see that some of these other ones like IBM, even PayPal, they're starting to make that turn. But then down here we have Global Payments. It hasn't done that yet. It's still heading lower, so we don't know how far down this is going to continue to lag and struggle with the market. So we don't want to mess with those. We like to wait until this is basically the momentum shift. When they turn higher, then we want to jump in and ride that swing, hopefully through the improving and back to the leading. So now once we jump over here to the leading quadrant, this is where you look for bearish trades or stocks that could end up on my bank it list for today. And when you look at some of these, now this stock, Pool Company, this is actually going to be on our tank it list for today. But when you look at the price, it's running higher. And I don't like to fight the trend here when we have a stock that's running hot. I tend to avoid it. The reason that this one is getting a pass and it's going to end up on my tank it list anyways, it's just because it's a seasonal stock. This is Pool Company. They run a lot of retailers about, coming around and cleaning pools and everything. And I own a pool, and I know that over the winter months, there's literally no maintenance for your pool. I mean, unless you have some leaves blowing into it, they got to come scoop those out if you don't do that yourself. But other than that, there's no chemicals going into it. There's no big adjustments that you need to make. There's not much going on with your pool. Nobody's really swimming in them unless you have a heater. But we live in Florida. We have heaters for our pools, and trust me, the kids are still so busy that you don't even get around to swimming in them too much. Anyway, so a lot of people that have heaters, they don't even bother cutting them on because it ends up just wasting a lot of money. My point is that it's a very seasonal stock. Here we are heading into the fall, winter months, and it's just not going to be as useful. So the fact that it's showing up here on our profit radar as a possible pullback in the short term, it's been leading the market. I'm going to put it on my tank it list for today. I know how seasonal the stock is. I'm expecting a pullback, so it's going to be on our tank it list. Looking for it to fall lower, but again, most stocks, if I pulled that up, they would not wind up on our tank it list. For example, UPS, the shipping company that's going to be super busy during the holidays. They're not going to be put on my tank it list right now, even though they're kind of making the same rotation for that reason. But some other stocks are going to make it to our tank it list. So again, we are looking for this rotation. This is CNC, Centene Corp. And you can see that I tracked that tail line here for it. It makes that turn lower, and now it's headed down towards the weakening quadrant. So when we pull up that chart, we see that it has a clear resistance line across the top of this here. And this goes back for years. So it's a very strong resistance level. And if it breaks above that, great. This is a bullish move for the stock, and you would want to be bullish on the trades and add call options. But for now, as long as this holds this key level around $75, you got to give it some wiggle room, probably around $75 on the resistance level before you'd be concerned. Look for this to go through a pullback and a drop down to the mid 60s. It's almost $10 a share. That's a pretty big drop, over 10% from where they are today. So this is a volatile stock. We're expecting a pullback. It's going to be on our tank it list, mainly because of the strong resistance here. Eventually it may break out one way or the other, but until it does, we're at the top of it now, so we're going to put it on our tank it list as we look for that pullback. Again, based on our profit radar that we were showing you, the rotation that's going through and everything else, this stock is on your tank it list. Look for put options maybe to benefit here on a short-term move to the downside. And then the other stock is Masco. This one's also just kind of drifting. You see the tail lines here, and then it just makes this turn. So we love seeing this turn, that it's headed down. It's going southwest at this point, basically. Not just directly south, not straight down. It's made a turn to head towards the lagging quadrant a little bit more as it's coming into this weakening one. And that's exactly what we wanted to look for. And it's basically the opposite from when we were on the bullish side to the bearish side. So let's take a look at this price chart. And again, we're in a big wedge pattern for this one. So we got our key resistance, key supports to keep an eye on, but we're at the top. We're trading right around this resistance level. And those are, as a trader, you love to see this because it means that you can have a tight stop. If it goes up a little bit, to close out of this trade. But as long as it holds, you got a big move lower that you can really ride this trend. No breakouts have to happen. This is just a wide wedge pattern for the stock. So this is going to be on our tank it list. We're looking for this one to head back down to the mid 50s over the next few weeks. And that's a sharp move, but look how quick that move was to the upside. Not even, a month? Big run up. Now we're looking over the next month or two to start heading lower and make this move to the downside. So again, we use this profit radar, my relative rotation graph. I use it in various strategies and concepts, and we tweak it. We make different changes to it. If you follow our monthly outlook, the way that we do this is we look at the indexes. We start with the indexes, and then we break out the stocks within the index. So there's different opportunities, and that's also a way to differentiate some of what's going on here. Is if the indexes are at a certain spot, you want to carry a lot of weight with that, because when investors pour money into indexes, it tends to shift the stocks within the index. So if they're pouring money or taking money out of indexes, then you'll see that impact individual stocks, kind of an outside force on those companies. And that's why I really like to look at that strategy for our monthly market outlook. For what we're doing today, this is more of just off the cuff. breaking these things down, seeing the opportunities that come up and how you can trade it, and then what we're going to be doing in that fast lane profits. It's truly fast lane. That's why we came up with that name for it, because we're talking just 5 days, 6 days, sometimes even just 1 day hold periods where we're getting into the fastest index, picking a fastest stock that we expect to move within that index. And it's, again, a modified version of this profit radar that you're seeing today, but we tweak it and it's all fine-tuned just to focus on these extremely short-term moves. And we're not talking weeks. If we hold a trade in that portfolio for 7 days, that's a long time. Most of these we're in and out within a week, just a matter of days, and we're looking to find these fastest stocks. So we're finding stocks and indexes that are on the move at the right time, and it's all thanks to the work that we do here with this profit radar. Because I mean, the time that I've spent with relative rotation graph, with studying the strategies and everything that we can, the detail that we can drill into, thanks to Optima, thanks to having it on this platform, it's truly amazing. And I can test anything. And then just once we come across the strategies like we're using for fast lane profits, and just we saw how phenomenal it was, even without options, even just trading the stocks, how much outperformance we are seeing. And then you layer options onto it when you're winning most of the time. That just really starts to blow any other expectations out of the water. So I hope you'll join us. There'll be a link below to sign up to learn all about the details about how we use this as a modified approach to take it to the next level with fast lane profits. So be sure to scroll below, click that so that way you can sign up and be one of the first to get all the details. So that's all for my video today. Again, click subscribe, leave me a comment, and be sure to check out that video that's going to be coming out here in the next week or so. You don't want to miss it. So until next time, I'm Chad Shoup.